Folks, welcome back to the Crossing Swords podcast. I am Gatesy, and we have a big show today presented by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel. You notice we have three of us here today, and the Buffalo Sabres look to continue their kind of nice ride they're going on right now. They're 4-4-2 after a dreadful start, looking to get revenge tonight against the Boston Bruins. Bunty, welcome to the show. How are you feeling right now? It's kind of been a whirlwind of the first month of the Sabres.
Yeah, I feel pretty decent right now after the 0-3 start. They've recovered well. They've gone 4-1-2 in their last 6 points in 6 of their last 7.
Yep.
They look decent. That being said, it feels like it could have been a little bit better. You lose
to be more productive, and especially in overtime. We need to make these chances and these points, because if you see the Eastern Conference, every point matters.
Yes. And it's weird because I think if you talked to us before the season, if they were 4-4-2 at this time, I would be content with that. Like, they're at 500, but it's been such a roller coaster of emotions the past 2 games. Like, they could have gotten those extra 2 points, but we'll see what tonight brings. AJ, good to see you. They better win or I'm off the bandwagon again. I mean, that's Saberhood right there. But Bunty, question for you. It's been so up and down. But the start of the season, for fans who might have checked out then, what's been the biggest difference for you from this team from the first time they played the Bruins to what we're going to see tonight of, why does this feel so different for you?
I mean, there's one huge obvious difference, and his name is Zach Benson, and he's obviously made a huge impact. He missed the first 3 games. The Sabres are 4-1-2 with him in the lineup, and he's been a wagon so far this year. I don't think he has a goal yet, but he's setting guys up. He's hard in the forecheck, and he's a good 2-way player. And he really has elevated even Yuri Kulik when the two are playing together, to where Kulik looks like a totally different player when he's playing with Benson than when he's a little bit lower in the lineup. And then the number 2 thing you got to bring up, I know goaltending was good the first 2 games, but Alex Lyon is really shown like he can be a decent starter for this team. So all the questions about goaltending, I know we're only 11 games into the season, but at 4-4-2, I feel a lot better about our goaltending now than I did a month ago at this point in time.
I will maybe add there also the Mike Kesselring presence into the defense, because when you start at the beginning of the season, the deeper with Bryson and Johnson, I don't really like that. They are both kind of soft. They are maybe solid at puck movement, especially Johnson, but playing around the corners, playing in front of the net, they are kind of soft. So Kesselring brings something that you need to have against the Bruins, because Bruins can play hard in front of your own net. So yeah, that should also help the goalie and hopefully help the team.
100%. And then Bunty, I think we're both on the same page, Victor, as well. There's been a lot of guys who've stepped up for this team you probably weren't expecting to, whether that be Matthias Samuelsson, Connor Timmins, Alex Lyon, the list goes on and on, Josh Doan, like Zach Benson. It hasn't been, the Tage Thompsons, the Rasmus Dahlins. I know we talked, last week throughout the season of, when these guys are going to hit their stride, but, what's it been like for you seeing, depth actually be a positive thing for this team and being what's winning them games? And it's not so much having to rely on the backs of 2-3 guys night in and night out.
Yeah, it's been a good thing. You cannot argue about the depth being improved. Like, it's undeniable that the depth is better on this team, to the point where like Jordan Greenway is getting close to returning to the ice, and we're like, well, where does he really fit on this team? And when eventually Norris gets back in December, you're going to then start to have some legitimate questions. Same with Danforth, because there are guys that are NHL caliber that are probably going to end up being scratched on some nights. And that's not to say that this team is loaded or that they're great, but it shows that they finally might have an NHL caliber roster, which is something that they've really lacked for many years of this drought, to where I hate to harp on it, but like guys like Cousins and Quinn and Peterka, they're like, that never should have been a second line for the last 3 years. That should have been a third line, with maybe some of them contributing at times on the second line. But like, you look at the way the makeup is here, like Josh Doan is a guy this team has needed for years. And you see his impact. I know that he had good metrics in Utah in a lesser role, but those are translating. Benson's translating. And it's weird. I don't know what to call like Kulik, whether you call him a top end guy or you call him a depth guy, because if we're being real, his production isn't top line guy yet. But even him, like Kulik's bringing scoring ability to the team. And guys like Zuck or McLeod, who are always going to kind of be in that middle six, they're very they're quality players in the middle six. And you look defensively too. Matthias Samuelsson, this is probably the best we've seen him look in quite some time.
Yes.
And this is something you and I talked about in the offseason. At the beginning of the offseason, we probably wanted him bought out. But then once we realized, okay, they want him to be the third pair defenseman, we talked it over and we're like, that's not bad if he's getting like 15, 16 minutes of ice time a night. Connor Timmins, another guy, really quality third pair defenseman. Probably don't want him to get too many opportunities on the second pair, but he got by for the period of time with power. And now it's really the situation of you need some of your top guys to start playing like your top guys. We're 4-4-2, and Dahlin is a -8 right now. And Tage really hasn't gotten off to a hot start. And you look at Owen Powers had some struggles. So they don't even have Norris in the lineup, and they won't for another 30 games. So you think about it, if you would have said before the season that like these guys would be getting off to a slow start and the Sabres would be around 500 at this point, you'd say, okay, they're cooked. Like it's over.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's a good news, bad news. I'm encouraged by the guys on the lower end of the roster. And if the guys at the top can eventually get it going, they could be pretty good. But they need the guys at the top to get it going at some point.
Yeah, I'm thinking how much Rasmus Dahlin is like influenced in a bad way with what happened during the offseason. We've all seen the message, and I believe it just can go out of your head when you are playing hockey when this happened to you during the summer. So this is exactly as Mike said, like this team needs to step up, and it did step up. The players you don't expect, to go as high as they are just stepped up for the players. Also for like Thompson, for like Tack, they are underperforming, and we still are getting points, which is really important. And if you go like everyone was like moaning when the Peterka trade happened, and we can see it can be a really win-win situation for both. Like the Utah gets Peterka, he gets the offensive guy, the straight head guy going offense, going net, and then you have Doan and Kesselring at our point, and it also looks like a very good situation for us. And same with Timmins, like everyone was, or Mallenstein, everyone was moaning like, okay, giving second rounds for these guys, and Mallenstein is doing heck of a job in the fourth line. I believe this year the fourth line is really helping the team, and it was not just that game when they also had points, but during the whole season, I can see like this fourth line is have the grit, and it's really starting some good shifts for the Sabres, which is really good. So all the credits to Beck Mallenstein too.
Yeah, 100%. It's been those guys, and you see Dahlin's a -8 and Tage is a -4, and you're wondering how this team is even winning games. It's through their special team, which is, I feel like everything we're talking about now for the Sabres' successes has been like their biggest plague the past couple of years of their depth not showing up when they need it, their special teams not being there. But the Sabres power play right now is at 21%. Yeah, 21.8%. Their PK is at 91%. That is such a good thing for this team, and why they're winning games when, Tage and Dahlin aren't, putting up Josh Allen like numbers right now.
And also you can add like Jordan Greenway is right now, adding to the group, and he will be important in PK too. Noah Estlund was doing kind of a great job. I kind of liked him, what he played, but he couldn't score points, which is a bad thing. And Greenway can do like both things, PK and also in net presence, I guess.
Definitely, and it feels like the Sabres' bottom six as well, Bunty, is finding goal scoring, whether that be Tyson Kozak when he was in the lineup. I know he's hurt now. Josh Dunn scored last game in his first NHL goal. It feels like their fourth line and their bottom six are contributing in ways we haven't really seen too much. And, Lindy Ruff talked all off season how the most important thing, they got to find a way to win 1-goal games. You have your fourth line give you a go-ahead goal in the third period. They just couldn't, close it our last game against Columbus. What does that mean for you to see that scoring come from the power play? And I feel like last year at this point is like, okay, well, if Tage doesn't score 2, like it's tonight's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. The power play definitely is getting better results than last year. Chad DeDominicis questions whether it's legitimate or not, or if it's some of it might cool off. So that's something to monitor, because if they're just in a hot streak and maybe they're not doing everything great, that could cool off at some point. I think the penalty kill is legit from what I've seen. And that's always been kind of a staple, at least of the really good Sabres teams. Back when they had Ryan Miller and Dominic Hasek, the Sabres were really good with the penalty kill with those guys. Obviously, great goaltending helps, but I think you're seeing with Alex Lyon like that. And it's not that Alex Lyon has ever been sensational, but he's playing at such a high level right now that it really is helping the Sabres get by. But yeah, the bottom of the lineup really is contributing. And like you said, Kozak with a couple goals, done with
Quinn on your third line now too.
I think that's more of I don't think too much of the bottom line. Like, I think they play tough. They'll get the occasional goal. It's more like I feel confident in all of the guys in the middle six, which is something I didn't really feel in the past. Like, when you're talking about 6 players and you're including guys like Jason Zucker, Ryan McLeod, Alex Tuck, Jack Quinn, Josh Doan, and then soon to be probably Jordan Greenway. And then like you can mix in a few guys here or there. Like you have, you got a guy like Quinn that's a sniper who maybe he's not going to provide much for you defensively, or he's not going to always be in the right spots, but like he can score from any spot. A guy like McLeod has incredible speed on the ice, and he plays quick. Zucker does some of the gritty stuff. He has good hands. He can tip a puck and he can get a rebound in front. And then some of those other guys, Tuck, obviously he's extremely talented. He's going to work hard. A person like Greenway, when he returns, has a physicality to him. So I think this team is learning to play different styles. In the past, it was basically you had your top 2 lines where you had some skill, but they didn't really have much physicality. They didn't really like the forecheck. It was either we're going to snipe the hell out of you and win games in transition, or we're going to struggle to score goals. And the bottom 2 lines on those teams were normally guys that couldn't add literally any offense. Now we're getting to a point where, yeah, let's be real. Peyton Krebs has probably had some struggles to start this season, but you put Peyton Krebs on a line with Malenstein and Kozak or different guys like that, and you at least have the opportunity to maybe get a little bit of offense every once in a while. And that's encouraging. Now, what I think they need to do, and the biggest thing killing this team, is they sleepwalk too much early in these games. I don't know if that's a product of too hard in practice or what they're doing the day of games or what it's a result of, but they need to find a way to not wait until the second period to really bring it on teams, because they've been handling teams in the second period. They've been even decent in the third period. I'm not even too mad about how they blew the third period leads the last 2 games, because if we're being real, the goal against Columbus was a deflected puck on a guy just going through the center of the ice. Like that's a little bit of bad luck. Like that things like that are going to happen. And then the third goal against Toronto, if I'm remembering right, that was the one where they just kind of threw it on the net, and it was just UPL. Just I don't know if it was a misread or what happened. It was just
he lost it in the air. Yeah,
it's kind of a weird play. So like I look at the guys on the ice, and I really don't blame the skaters for either of those goals. And then overtime, you had 2 opportunities to pull out wins on the offensive side of the ice, and you just didn't finish. So I do think they're playing solid hockey. I don't want to say they're playing great, but in the past they would get outplayed and maybe they would win a game 3-2, and you'd be like, yeah, they're back. Now it's like, okay, they're at least playing even with these teams. Like they're giving themselves a shot to win on almost a nightly basis now.
We walk a long way from a PKPP situations to this point, but I would like to return back to the power play situations as Chad wrote. If this is not something like extraordinary for what we see on the ice, I really don't like how they play the power play, and I don't know what they are still trying to do with Tage. Maybe that's also the question for the people listening to us. But Tage being on the right side almost all the time. Sometimes he crosses to the left, but he's mainly on the right side when it's out of his one-timer position. It's still the best thing you have in your team, like Tage's one-timer. And I know everyone knows that, but look at Alex Ovechkin. The league knows it for like 20 years, and he still scored these goals because he's at this spot and he's waiting for his opportunity. And I don't know what we are getting extra special with Tage playing on the right side. I don't see any like benefit out of it. And the other thing I wanted to mention this season, what I see, and I didn't saw it in past like 4 or 5 seasons, is this team, apart from Owen Power, is playing hard, to erase the mistakes they are doing. Like, we can see it on Bo Byram. He makes the mistake on the blue line, and then he rushes back with a full speed, just to recover his mistake. We see it from Tuck, we see it from Krebs, we see it from all the guys, a part of Owen Power. If Owen Power makes the mistake, he's just too slow, wakey, and he just, quits on everything. I don't want to say I hate this guy, but, if you see how good he can be, he can be a top 10 defender in the league, but he's kind of lazy. He doesn't play body to body. He's like, he got like, we say 2 meters for the Canadian guys. I don't know how much inches is that, but he's big. He's heavy, and he makes like 4 hits in the first 10 games. It's horrible. We need to see more from him.
Yeah, and there's that game, I think it was the Ottawa game, where things kind of changed. Like, he got like slashed in the leg after a whistle. He found a spark, and he was a lot better when he had that spark and that grit. And a lot of people have been clamoring for that, and I felt like
the spark is good thing, but the team is stepping up for each other. That's good. But playing body to body during the game and crushing someone on the ice, that's the thing we don't see, and I will say we will not see from him in the close time. But if you go back to the overtime goal in Columbus, it was also his guy. He could rush there. He could make like 3 more quick tempos and raise a stick or something, but he just kind of quit on the play, and then we received the game-winning goal for Columbus. So yeah, that's something I want to see better. If Byron would be at his place or Kesselring, I still believe there maybe would not be this pass that ended the game.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what Lindy Ruff does too, Bunty, where we even saw Bo and Byram get knocked down to that third pairing after the play Matthias Samuelsson. Byram wasn't his best game, and then Byram scored that first game after being like demoted off of playing with Dahlin. Power's always had that second line spot pretty much forever without too much change, where his spot is. I'm interested to see what that looks like if Ruff makes that change, as we saw Yuri Kulik early in the season get demoted to the 5th line in practice before playing in the 4th line for the game. I think it's interesting. And with the power play too, before we transition fully into Owen Power, the Sabres had 3 power play goals against the Senators. They've had 4 in the season. So in 9 games, they've had 4 power play goals. They've really got that boost from that Senators game with the man advantage. So their power play isn't as good as the numbers look at 21%, but they're finding success by keeping it simple, getting pucks to the net. We saw the 5-on-3, I believe it was Toronto.
You're talking about 4 power play goals outside of the Senators.
Yes, they have 7 on the season.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, it's been just kind of that one game inflating their power play. So I want to see them get a little simple. They have their success when they have a good net front. And, it's really that simple for me, for them. But I think it's time. We like that Owen Power conversation got very loud after last game, Bunty. Where are you with him right now? I know even just last week, people were ready to send Matthias Samuelsson to the moon. I feel like a ton of players have always been on, there's one guy we're going to hyper focus on his Sabres Twitter and, want him gone. Where are you at right now with him, his development, and his spot in the lineup?
I think we are going way too far with Owen Power right now. And I'm not saying that you're not right with being critical of him. He's definitely not had the best start to the season. Like, I completely agree with that. And it is frustrating when he makes some of the boneheaded plays that he makes. But we also have to remember he's a former number 1 overall pick. He's, I think, 22 years old right now. Maybe 23 coming
23
up.
23 is 02.
But it's one of those things where defense right now, still technically 22, turns 23 in November. But defensemen don't all develop at the same pace. Like it's difficult because when you see somebody with Owen Power size, you want him to be physical, you want him to throw his body around, and that's what like prototypical like hockey defensemen in like the 80s and 90s played like. But a lot of that physicality doesn't exist in the league anymore. And that's not necessarily an excuse for Owen Power, but over on this side of the ocean, they're just not teaching guys to play that way anymore. They teach you more to play with your stick, your size, your like basically they don't want you to get out of the play by making a big hit. Like it's more staying within things. And I don't know if Power's ever going to be the guy that's going to be this physical, use his body, throw it around, check a lot, and be that type of player. I look at him more as like, even though he's big and tall, he's more a little bit finesse and more of an offensive-minded defenseman. So like he's 6 foot whatever, but he might as well be like 6 feet tall the way he plays. His height is more of an advantage with his reach and than it is anything with his body. And I think that's frustrating for a lot of fans because when you see guys like that, you want them to be that guy that's tough to play against, that's gonna enforce their will. But you can't change people into something that they're not. And hopefully Power can develop a little bit more of that in time because I think he will need to. But I'm more concerned about like, are you in the right spots defensively? Are you making the right plays defensively? Are you adding to this team offensively? Because we're talking about a guy that had around 40 points last year as a 21-year-old defenseman. Like that's a lot of upside. And I think what's tough when we talk about the Sabres defense grouping is Dahlin's obviously very talented. Byram is obviously very talented. Power is very talented. But what are they all skewed towards? Offense. They're offensive defensemen. They're not going to be the best defensive group, which is why the Michael Kesselring move was so important to this team, to kind of give Power that right-hand defenseman that can help them out, that can kind of let him evolve and worry about his side of things, while Kesselring can kind of help him out in other areas. So I'm a little surprised that the first game they didn't have Power with Kesselring, but they said that Timmins was working well. Gatesy loved the cat.
He loves the show.
But they were saying how Timmins was working well with Power to start the season, so maybe they didn't want to just force it. But I don't think you're ever going to get to the point where Power is on this third pair, just because unlike Byram, who, yes, could go down to the third pair and switch up, and yes, he does have a good contract, the Sabres, I think, want Power to evolve into a star in this league. And I don't think confidence-wise putting him down on the third pair is something that they really think is going to be helpful in the long run in his development. And the last thing I will say about it, it's tough when you talk about Power because he was the number 1 overall pick. And we've seen a lot of these number 1 overall picks, even Schaefer right now, get off to like hot starts and show a lot. It was not the strongest NHL draft the year Power was drafted. And there was a couple other guys that were in the discussion that could have gone number 1 overall. And a lot of people, when they talked about Power coming out, they were saying this guy has all-star upside, but he is not the ceiling of Rasmus Dahlin. He is not your generational talent. He can be very good, but he's never going to be top 5 defenseman in the league. So what I would say about Power, skilled, raw, taking a little longer than what we wanted, but still at the end of the day, at his worst, he's still an average defenseman in the league, which is better than most replacement guys. He just needs to take that next step.
Well, I will try to kind of argue with you with my poor English. Like, the thing I hate about Power is, like, this is like his 5th season in NHL.
Fourth.
I think fourth full season or something like that.
Fourth full season. And he's not making, like, the progression. Mm-hmm. You can see, like, season after season, year after year, you don't see him getting, like, better in the ways you want to get him better. He needs to skate better still. And if he's on the ice for, like, more than 40 seconds, he's dead. Like, he's like so slow after like 30, 40 seconds. He's dead on the ice. He's very slow. And he doesn't, like, Rasmus Dahlin, the first like 2 seasons, he wasn't playing body to body. He wasn't playing like the rough style of hockey. Right now, he's aggressive. He can land the body. He can land the hit. He can also take the hit. And that's what I hate about Power. Like, he didn't still learn that. I know he doesn't want to learn it probably, but he had the body. And even Rasmus Dahlin, he's a creative guy. He's a guy who is very skilled on the puck, same as Owen Power, but he can play like more rough hockey that we want to see from guys playing in Buffalo, especially with his size. So the thing I hate about him or about the player is that I can see his potential to be over there, and he's playing like there, and he's still not making these steps to get bigger. I don't see him like trying to get there. If you watch Dahlin like for 3 or 4 seasons, you saw from him like he's getting better, and he tried. He made a lot of mistakes, but because he tried, and I don't see this from Power. And maybe it's also the good thing he's not making that many mistakes as Dahlin did in his first like 2-3 seasons. But still, I don't care if he's a number one pick or if he's pick number 68. If you can see the potential and the guy is not going for it, not going full will for his potential, I hate it.
I think what's tough though is that I actually think that Power started his career better than Dahlin started his career.
Oh yeah, it's been more of a plateau though.
Oh yeah, he did. Absolutely.
That's kind of tough. Like Power, and I know people hate plus minus, but whatever. I'm going to use it because I don't have advanced metrics from 22 and 23. But like Power as a rookie had 35 points and was a plus 10, and then as a second-year player, 33 points and a plus 8. Last year, 40 points, minus 13. This year, 3 points and a minus 5. Like if you compare to the way Dahlin started his career. And I know Dahlin was dealing with Ralph Kruger and there was a lot of other things, but like Dahlin's like, and he was also younger. So these years don't necessarily correlate, but Dahlin was a minus 13, a minus 7, a minus 36, a minus 22. But his point total is 44, 40, 23, 53. Like Dahlin, I think sometimes early in his career, we forgave his defensive liabilities and his turnovers because he had so much offensive skill that we looked at him and we're like, we just need to unleash that offense and we don't want to hold him back. That's why I think we do. That's why I do believe we are too critical of Power overall, because it's gotten to the point where like every time he has one turn, like he can have a great game and he'll have one turnover and people are going to be freaking out about it. Like,
I don't care about turnovers. I care about him not finishing the check.
I get the hitting too. I believe me, I understand the hitting aspect of it. But I think the one thing that metrics have kind of proven about hockey in recent years is that hitting, while it's needed, it's kind of an over talked about thing. Like we all miss the good old days when there was a lot of checking in hockey. But Rasmus Ristolainen might have been one of the worst Sabres defensemen I've ever seen. But the guy could sure lay a hit. But like
he could let a hit on himself too.
Oh yeah, those boards are dangerous.
Hit himself, yeah. But like Rasmus Ristolainen liked hitting to the point where like he would hit himself out of a play. Like he'd go for a big check, and then next thing you know, there's a goal on a 2-on-1, like on the other side. So like I think with Power, if there was a little bit more offense to balance off the lack of physicality and some of these mistakes, I think we would be a little more forgiving. Like if Power was like a 55-point defenseman right now, we'd be like, okay, he makes some mistakes, but he makes up for it on the offensive side of the ice. Right now, he's still like a Bowen Byram type offensive production defenseman, and that's just not good enough for what they want expectation-wise. Like Bo Byram got a $6 million a year contract, which honestly was probably fair, a little rich for his metrics, but like you look at Byram and you're like, yeah, that guy could get 35 to 40 points. He's okay. Like he's going to play okay. Power's getting $8 million a year, but he's playing like a $5 million a year defenseman. So it's tough because they gave him that contract because they wanted to lock him up for long term at a fair price before he breaks out. And if Power was right now on a Jack Quinn like 2-year, like $3.5 million per contract, I think we'd be like, well, his development's taken longer than what we wanted it to take, but we're paying fair value and we got somebody else that we use that money on. But it's because we're paying him factored in with the development's taking long that we're getting a little disappointed. But then we forget, like, there's been plenty of Sabres players in the last 5 years, last 10 years, let's say, that didn't really hit it off as 21, 22, 23-year-olds that just needed a little bit more time. And I don't want to say, like, you need to give more time because, like, at some point there's an expectation you need to take that leap. But I think we do in this case. We have to see how he looks with Kesselring. If Power gets Kesselring for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then next thing you know, Power is like a +3, +4, and he's getting a point every other game, then this is a different conversation. The whole offseason was aimed at, we traded for Kesselring to give Power a suitable linemate. We just have to see it through. And if he continues to struggle, then we can really take this conversation to another level.
Yeah, and I think Victor hit the nail on the head earlier. It really clicked for me of when he's out there for too long, it really starts to go down. I think having Kesselring in the lineup is going to be such a big thing where he can do less and he can do less minutes, where now the Sabres have 6 defensemen. You can say the same thing for Dahlin, where he doesn't have to put up 30 minutes a night, where he can, last game he only had 23 minutes, which seems so low for what he's had throughout his career. I think we're going to see the same benefit from Owen Power, where they can be more mindful with his minutes, where he doesn't have to play in maybe some bigger roles that they ask him to, or even see overtime. Like, I'm fine with just Dahlin and Byram going back and forth the entire time, where they're fast. They can move. You talked about Byram's back check after that turnover. He, saved the game for at least another minute or two. I think Owen Power's in a place where they can almost hide him a bit more, where you have Kesselring there. He doesn't have to be, the driving factor of his line, where, I think it was with like Yoki Haru so much of last year, where he had to be the guy. Now he can play hopefully a bit more simple. He can move the puck. He's great in transition, and he can hopefully just focus on the things he's good at, play a much more controlled game defensively. And I think the Sabres are going to start seeing those minor improvements from Owen Power, where the best games for Owen Power are when no one's talking about him, where he can just kind of exist and he's not making those big turnovers.
One thing where he also needs to step up is a power play, the second power play unit, because he's the quarterback of this power play, and you don't see much movement. You don't see like great shots. Yeah, the second power play is not working for now, as I would like to. So yeah, and it falls kind of on him. Also, Dahlin is making a lot of mistakes in the first power play. There are a lot of misplays. So yeah, it's same for Power, and he, as Mike said, like, he's a point guy. He's offensive guy, and he got just only 3 points. You need more from him, and yeah, hopefully he's gonna bring that with Kesselring, and I'm really looking forward when they will play with Kesselring together. But the thing that kind of changed maybe this Power Kesselring pair is the great form of Mattias Samuelsson, because I don't think anyone expected that Samuelsson will play at this level he's playing. No. So it kind of shuffles everything, regarding the deep pair. So yeah.
Timmins too, where you have him on, playing with Power last game, and I think if they were just kind of as expected coming into the season, we just saw Kesselring right away. They kind of would just, try to get that jump, but those guys are playing well. It's hard to try to shuffle that D-court too much when they have been a big asset to this team. And AJ, we need to see more urgency and fire from Power. It does feel like that internal thing, like when we saw Zach Benson return to the lineup, that Sabres team just got a big boost. It is to me that I just need that spark internally for him. You guys got to know in Power before we talk about, I think the biggest talking point right now for the Sabres is in goal. They have 3 goalies. It kind of feels weird with this Colton Ellis just there. He's kind of like not the odd man out, but he feels like the odd man out at the moment. Bunty, I'll start with you because I know, we've talked Alex Line. He's made the saves when the Sabres have needed him to for the most part this season. He's, stepped up in a way that I don't think a lot of people were expecting from him coming into the season. Where are you at right now with the Sabres goaltending? I haven't seen who's in net tonight. If any of you know, I can look real quick, but Bunty, just tell me what are your thoughts on the Sabres net front right now?
I think the Sabres are kind of forced into having this 3 goalie situation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Before the year, they would have probably loved to have it be Lyon and UPL, and maybe even have UPL be the number 1 and Lyon be the 1A. But UPL's injury forced them into this situation, and now they kind of just have to run with it, and we'll see how it plays out. There's no question Alex Lyon is their starting goaltender right now. Now the split, we'll see how that ends up working out over time. Lyon isn't going to be at a 925 save percentage the whole year.
So Lyon's starting tonight.
Lyon is starting tonight.
Yes.
So I think right there, that tells you a lot about where they're currently at. Lyon has a 919 save percentage in 8 games. That's 1/10 of the season. You think about it. What does he normally start in a season? Like 35 to 40 games. So he's already played 1/4, 1/5 of his normal season. We're only 1/8 of the way through the season. So we're looking at a season where Lyon's probably going to get 45 to 50 starts at least. Mm-hmm. And unless he just falls off the map and struggles massively, it's really hard to see a scenario where where he's not getting the majority of the starts for the season, because the situation is UPL almost has to reprove himself to this team. And I know some people will say that's unfair, but the fact of it is he needed to win the job in camp, and he was unavailable. And sometimes just being unavailable can be enough to lose your job. And yes, he went to Rochester for a game, and he just had a game in against Toronto that I guess he didn't find out until practice that morning that he was going to play, but he didn't play well in that game given the opportunity. And so there's more pressure on, especially since Ellis had a good game and won his only start. And I'm not saying that Ellis is better than UPL. I'm far from saying that. But you're looking at a situation where Ellis is a good prospect. He was a 3rd-round pick. He's been very good in the American Hockey League the last 2 years. And at 25 years old, that's right around that time where guys of his nature start getting their opportunities to be backup goaltenders. And you already have Levi in the wings in Rochester still waiting for his opportunity. And for UPL, say he goes out and he has another couple stinkers. I'm not saying he will, but say he goes out there and UPL has an 850 save percentage through 3 or 4 games, and you have Alex Lyon at 919, and say Colton Ellis gets another start and he looks good and he's at 910 or 915, it becomes tough to justify playing the guy that's not putting up any results just because you gave him a contract, especially in a year where everybody needs results just to keep their jobs. So I always looked at it like this going into the season. I don't think Lyon is a star. I don't even think he's great. But if you're not a top 5 goalie in the league, you got to find a way to not be a bottom 5 goalie in the league. Just find a way to be in that 10 to 20 group. In most average teams, you're going to get to overtime a lot of times. You're going to get points. And that's kind of how you make the playoffs. The New York Islanders aren't ever a good team, but they find a way to get a lot of overtime points, and they sneak in a lot. That's what the Sabres almost that's what we're seeing right now. They're getting these kind of points that are going to be impactful later in the season. So what I look at it is this: UPL is either going to rebound and elevate his game. I'm not saying to the level it was 2 years ago, but to a level where he needs to be at least a 90 plus save percentage. He needs to be between 90 and 91. If he's in the 8s,
JB.
If he's in the 8s, there's no point keeping him in this scenario, because Colton Ellis, Devin Levi, even Georgiev, they're not going to be that much below if UPL's in the 8s. So if you're saying if UPL is the goalie in the 8s, you're basically saying he's bringing the equivalent of a minor league goaltender. And you already have 2 or 3 of those available. So I hope UPL can step up, because if UPL can step up to what we saw 2 years ago, then the Sabres are going to have a pretty good goalie room, and they could be pretty formidable. But you look at the advanced metrics for their career, Alex Lyon is something like a 25 goals saved above expected. UPL is a negative number. So you can only justify poor play for so long before you're we can't accept this anymore. And when UPL was 22, 23, 24, I'm okay with the excuses at that point. He's 26 now. And like I said, I'm going to give him every chance.
Yeah.
But with every poor performance, this fan base is going to get closer and closer and closer to being done with him.
I think we are getting closer to the point when we have to decide if we are going to stick with UPL or Levi. The point gets closer and closer, and with these UPL like poor performances, it needs to be there because Levi deserves his time proving once again to play in the NHL. Like he's proving himself in Rochester. He's more mature. As I saw the games of the Americans, he's not that so hyperactive in that. He's not going everywhere through the crease, which he did at the beginnings.
Yes.
So that's what you want to see from a goalie, and Levi deserves a chance, or we will lose him. And we are getting to the point when we have to decide if we want to lose UPL or Levi. And right now, there are some teams on the goalie market that definitely look for goalies. For example, Edmonton will look for a goalie, and you can maybe try to go to send UPL there, get some forward presence, and yeah, maybe do that because when there will be like more bad efforts from UPL, his value will obviously go down also with his contract. So you need to think also of that very, very quickly because you still have these guys in Rochester and you have Colton Ellis, which is still kind of question mark. You don't know what's going to happen with Colton Ellis because I think there's like, if you claim someone out of waivers, if you have it for 30 days on your team, if you put him back on the waivers, the team that first put him on the waivers can have him back, but can send him to the AHL. They need to keep him also in the NHL. So I think we are hitting this 30-day mark, and they are trying to see if they can put somehow Ellis in Rochester or lose him for just like a couple of days, and then have him back and send him to Rochester. I think that maybe could be the plan. But as I said, we are getting to the point when we have to decide if we want to go with Levi or with UPL.
Yeah. It does feel like we're at that point, and I mean, goaltending is just the worst position in all of sports. Bunty, you said it perfectly. We're at the point where jobs are on the line for the coaching staff, for management. They need results, and I mean, the biggest issue for UPL, like everyone knows, is making that timely save. Like he moves so well in the crease. I love watching him play because he's so smooth. But then you have the Tavares goal in the third period where, yes, Tavares skates all the way across the Sabres zone, basically through four guys. But that's a shot that, the Sabres just need. Like he can make a backdoor save great. But if the Sabres are, tied in the third period, they need to, lock that down, get that save. And that was just the biggest, I don't want to say disappointment, but it really was a disappointment at that start.
It was bad, man. It was bad.
Where like that's all I was looking for was, him making that save at the end, that timely save to get the Sabres the win.
And I have no faith, man. I have no faith in those situations. He's going to come up. And I hate saying that because I was a UPL defender in the beginning, and I think that he does have a lot of potential. And I don't really value too much like minor league stats versus pro stats. Like it's different in the AHL than it is in the NHL. But he did struggle at those levels too. It's outside of a 3-month stretch with the Sabres on couple years ago, he really hasn't had long stretches of sustained success in the pros, and he gets opportunity after opportunity because he's been the top goalie prospect in the organization. He was a high draft pick, and they believe in him and they want him to take that leap. But if we remember, before he had that 3-month stretch where he went off, he entered that season as their third goalie. Yeah. So behind Levi, he needed a couple things to bounce his way. Levi looked pretty poor, and then the other goaltender in town wasn't getting it done, and so then they had to
Anderson
go with UPL, and he made the most of the opportunity, turned it into a contract. But here's the concerning thing I would say with the Sabres and UPL overall. For so many years in the past, we've been kind of saying, well, the defense is horrible in front of him. Anybody would be bad in that net. And that is kind of true. Like the Sabres allowed so many odd man rushes, horrible opportunities. So like, yes, I think if you put 90% of the goalies in the NHL on the Sabres the last like 3 years, they probably would have struggled. The part that is difficult to get past though is, so UPL has an off year last year, and I'm trying to look up what his final save percentage was last year. He was at an 887. And I'm not saying save percentage is the best stat because like you don't know the quality of stats. There's more better advanced metrics. But James Reimer comes in late in the season, and then the Sabres he goes 90 plus, and the Sabres start going on a little bit of a run. So that's the same team, but different results. And that's why we need a little bit of a sample size this year before we can really make a better conclusion, because some of the metrics say, even though the Sabres are playing a more balanced brand, the defense still hasn't been great so far this season. They've been good on the power play. But when you see Alex Lyon putting up his numbers, it's because Lyon is playing above average goalie right now. Like, he's playing better than your average goaltender. So if UPL goes out there and he plays below average with the same average to average unit in front of him, then you're kind of getting your answer. The one goalie elevates you, the other goalie drags you down a little bit. And to me, it's too early in the season to say that about UPL, but that's what the Sabres need to figure out. What I would do is because it's clear right now, Ruff feels like he needs to go with Lyon. He's probably gonna be using Lyon almost anytime he can in a situation where he's not tired or it's a back-to-back. I think in these non-Lyon games, maybe you give Ellis an opportunity, then the next time you give UPL an opportunity. You give Ellis an opportunity, then you give UPL an opportunity. And if you start seeing a trend where one is playing considerably better than the other, you make up your mind after a month and a half, and you stick with it. If Ellis looks much better than UPL at that point, maybe you move on from UPL, you try to trade him somehow. If UPL looks much better than Ellis, you could put Ellis on waivers. No, somebody's probably going to claim him, but you still have Levi and Georgiev in the AHL. I think there's only one reason they still have Ellis on this team, and it's because I think they want to wait this out before making the decision so they know definitively who they have more faith in.
100%. And quick, hopping for Victor. Sabres lineup is out tonight. Jordan Greenway will be making his debut against the Bruins tonight on the Sabres website. So again, I feel like every single game there's someone making their season debut for the blue and gold. So he's in. Kesselring is on that third pairing with Byram still. So the defensive unit stayed the same from last game. Really only changes. Ostlund is out. Greenway is in. So all kind of makes sense there. But Victor, I don't know if you have any other, final goaltending UPL thoughts before we, preview tonight's game when puck drop in 15 minutes.
Yeah, the final thought is, what we already said, that, what the thing you need from goalie, you don't need to have Dominik Hasek. Why we all loved Ryan Miller. He made a great save, but he was consistent. Every night you could expect a great effort from him, and also the players could know that if there will be a shot, a high danger shot, he will just keep the puck in himself, and he will just give the team the calmness. And you can see that right now from UPL. You couldn't see that also from Colton Ehlers. Like 90% of the shots that went on him, he just rebounded everywhere. But when we hit the point when we needed the big save to save the game, he did it. That's why he won the game, and he was the number one star, because he made the saves at the right point. So with UPL, he needs to be more consistent. He needs every game to be in a great mindset, and I believe his biggest problem is still his mindset, his head. Because when you are playing goalie, the head is a big problem, and we all know when we saw him that he can bring the great efforts, but he needs to be consistent in it.
Yeah, 100%, and exactly that. They need to be able to get those saves from him. When he's hot, he's hot. He moves so well. It's just, slowing things down, getting those saves. And I think for him too, if that Toronto game would have just gone that way and they would have won 3-2, they would have won 4-2, that would have, the conversation we wouldn't be having right now. He'd be starting tonight against the Bruins. I just think until he gets that full game where, the Sabres win, he, looks good, he locks things down. I think once that happens, the Sabres will move forward. Still shocked he only got one conditioning game with Rochester. They brought him up early. I don't know why. But
there was a rumor that Colton Ellis was hurt his back, so that's why they brought him up, and they didn't want to play Lyon back to back, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe
understandable.
Also to don't hurt him.
But yeah, it wasn't ideal for the Sabres. I think they would have wished he could have gotten a couple more games just to kick this conversation down the road where it's not such a major talking point. But he's been backing up every game since he's been here. So I think it shows where, the depth chart is for the Sabres goaltending. And I think I'd be concerned if Colton Ellis was above Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen at the moment. But gentlemen, we are 13 minutes away from puck drop. Bunty, Jordan Greenway's making his debut tonight. On the fourth line, he's playing with Josh Dunn and Beck Malenstein. What are you looking tonight out of the return of Jordan Greenway? And I feel like he's a player I just never, like he's never in the lineup. I just feel like every year he misses a huge chunk of games. But what do you want to see out of him tonight?
I just want to see him play physical, strong two-way game, and just be a presence on that fourth line. Be a high-energy player, do your job, and don't stand out for anything bad. And when I say that, just don't be on the ice for an opposing goal. You're on the fourth line. Your job is just to make the job for the other guys on the other side of the ice a little bit more difficult. And hopefully if you do that, you wear them down over the course of the game and make things a little bit easier for your main guys. I think Greenway on the fourth line, is a great fit. I didn't hate him on the third line last year, to be honest with you, but on the fourth line, it just seems like a natural fit. He has some skill to his game, not high end skill, but this is a guy where when there's been injuries, sometimes they put him on the first line just to play with Tage and stuff like that. So when I look at Jordan Greenway, fourth line, if he plays the way I want him to play, I think that could be a good contribution, and hopefully he makes an impact, and we'll see. In a perfect world, he's a very solid fourth line player. And I remember before the year we were talking is Josh Stone going to be on the third line? Is Greenway going to get demoted to fourth line? If you would have told me then Josh Stone third line, second line, and Greenway fourth line, I'd be like, okay, that's how you get better, because now you have a guy that was a third line, second line guy for you in the past, who now is playing in your fourth line. You just increased your depth and you just made your team better overall.
Yeah. I agree with you, Bunty. Victor, how are you feeling?
Well, I want to see also Greenway took part of also for definitely shorthanded plays, PK, where he can be a big presence. For example, when Tug gets penalized, you want to see Greenway over there with his big reach, big body. It can help a lot. And also, I would love to see him playing power play, being the second Josh Doan. Doan is playing net front, and on the other way, sometimes there's their Tucker, but Tuck is there, but it's. I think for Greenway, it's more natural to play in front of the net and be this hole in front of the goalie, and taking his eyes off. I would really love. He can play the fourth line, which is great, but he still should earn some time playing power plays and PKs and helping the team in the special teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an area of his game too where he's a killer for the Sabres. I think he can be a great net front. We talked about that second power play unit just not having really any juice. Get that there. He has a scoring touch too, where you see the fourth line, they've been contributing for the Sabres. You put Jordan Greenway on there. He has physicality. He can move up and down the lineup if called on, and he can score when needed. I think he's going to be a very underrated addition for the Sabres. I want to see that fire out of him. I want to see him bring that to the rest of the lineup and go on from there, because the Sabres, they need revenge after game 2 where they looked like they were just a stick in the mud. It wasn't what we're seeing now. And, you add another guy who can bring some energy, bring some physicality. I think it's only going to help them for tonight. Bunty, do you think the Sabres are going to get their revenge tonight against the Bruins? They're on the road playing a team that they should have beat, game 2, that they're a better team than. Do they finally get it done tonight?
We'll see, man. The metrics are pretty similar between these two teams right now, which a little concerned because I don't really think the Bruins are that good of a team. The Sabres are the better team. On paper, the roster is better, but we saw them lose a game to them already this season. I'm going to pick a Sabres victory. They need a win. If they lost to the Bruins a second time within 11 games to start the season, and then you pair that up with the Rangers loss, I'd be pretty disappointed because they're showing up to play against teams like Toronto and Florida. So there really is no excuse to go on the road against Boston and look as bad as they have.
I think Jonas Korpisalo is in the net for the Bruins, which will bring us the victory. It would be maybe problematic to go against Jeremy Swayman, but Korpisalo is really not hot. His goal saves about expected. He's bottom 5, I guess, right now. So you need to be good. You need to get on him and score early and just make the call game. The Sabres should win, and I hope they will, but they need to score early and don't make Korpisalo make this is his NHL bring back game to the season.
100%. And that's a good point too. I haven't. Thank you, Grant. Thanks for hopping in. Appreciate it. Again, folks watching along, we're here 56 minutes. Thank you to over 2,300 people who've stopped by tonight. Appreciate it. It's always fun doing this every Thursday when the Sabres don't play. 7:00 on game nights. We'll go around 6. And you brought up a good point, Victor, on Korpisalo. I feel like the Sabres, when they play backup goalies, I feel like just light it up. But when they play top goaltending, they just get shut down. We saw it early in the season, the first couple games especially. It was, it wasn't good, but whether that be being shut out by Shesterkin, Jeremy Swayman is awesome. Now it took them playing Ottawa's backup goalie to, get their offense back. Big first period as well for the Sabres where, they struggle in that. If they can get 2 goals in the first, they can ride that out. They can hopefully make Alex Lyon's life a bit easier and just have him go from there. But gentlemen, we are, a couple minutes away from puck drop. There's a big talking point we didn't get to. Maybe we just keep it to a one-word answer. Maybe have folks waiting for our full answer next week. Did Kevin Adams do a good job this offseason, Bunty?
Kind of.
Fair.
We're just afraid to say he did. Like, everyone is afraid to say he did. But Timmins, great acquisition. Doan and Kessering, they are great acquisitions. Lyon, great acquisition. Tell me a bad move from him during the offseason.
He had a good offseason. It's funny. It's funny because, we all wanted a top 6 forward, but,
get one from Doan. You didn't expect it, but Doan is.
All the guys that he's brought have been solid. So yeah, he's had a good offseason. The question is, did he do enough in the offseason to get them to where they need to be? Yeah, that might have a different answer. But yes, he had a good offseason.
I think you both are saying exactly what I am, where the additions he brought in were great. We saw the issue at the start of the season where you have a lot of guys hurt. Oh no, what are we doing for scoring after that? But yeah, now that we're seeing guys healthy, and you're missing your first line center, like this team looks good. The guys they brought in are stepping up. Matthias Samuelson's looking good. Connor Timmins has been such a nice addition. Like a lot of sneaky additions from the Sabres over the offseason are exceeding expectations, even though they were low. Grant, yeah.
One thing that we have to praise Adams with is if you look at the contract of Tage Thompson, see Marty Mitchell just signed for $11.5 million, and how big these contracts are at the moment, and this was the risky contract with Thompson, but it worked out perfectly because right now Thompson would cost us at least 12 million bucks,
even more
at least. We're with Alex Tuck now. Tuck wants.
All right, Tuck is going to be a tough one for Kevin.
Yeah, I think we're seeing Tuck's game get to a point where it needs to be to begin conversations of big money. But yeah, I mean, even the bad contracts are, either not on the books anymore or are playing up to that potential. But Bunty, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap things up here? Again, a couple minutes before puck drop.
Just got to find a way to get a W tonight. However it looks, I don't care if it's a high scoring game, low scoring game. Need to get off to a better start. The sleepwalking is the one thing that's holding this team back right now. They've been dominant in second periods. They look decent in the third periods, even when they have had a couple blown leads. Team looks good, but a 10-game stretch of 4-4-2 is still not good enough at the end of the season. You need to get a winning streak going. You need to get some W's because the entire East is cluttered early in the season. And when you blow a third period lead against Toronto and then you lose in overtime, even though you still got a point, you gave them 2 points. And then you did the same thing with Columbus. And these are going to be teams that you're going to be competing with. So just try to find a way to cut down a little bit of the sloppiness. Lindy said that in the last game against the Blue Jackets that their feet really weren't moving early in the game. And that led to a lot of the bad passing and the mental mistakes. Just find a way to cut down on that. And then the only other thing I want to say, Grant, thank you for tuning in and subscribing to our show and our channel. And for anybody that is new watching, this is going to be every Thursday evening. When the Sabres don't play, we're going to be around 7 o'clock. And when they do play, we'll normally be a pregame show.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I believe Alex Lyon is going to play a huge role today, and we need to be careful on Pasternak because Pasternak every game is dangerous. So keep out of the penalty box. That's going to be a big thing. Even when we have a great penalty kill, still these one-timers are really dangerous from Boston, and I don't believe Boston will do much on 5-on-5. So just win the special teams, and you're gonna win the game.
Yeah, win special teams. Don't let Henry Jokiharju, Casey Middlestat score. Just for my own well-being. Grant, too, we're about to wrap things up. Thanks for coming along. Connor Timmons has been great, so solid. And Josh Norris, we will hopefully see him in the Sabres uniform in December. So I'm telling myself that's basically a month away. It's a bit longer, but, mentally we're a month away. And yeah, folks, thank you. We're 2,500 people stopping in tonight. Victor, Bunty, this is all glad we can do this. And yeah, the Sabres season has been a roller coaster. We're 10 games in. Who knows where we're going to be 10 games from now, but we got to take it one game at a time. It starts tonight in Boston, puck drop in 2 minutes. But again, I can't say thank you enough to everyone stopping by, subscribing, liking this video, supporting all of our Sabres stuff. It means the world to us. But until then, we will see you guys next Thursday. Let's go Sabres.